Hey team, Massad Ayoob here for the Wilson Combat YouTube channel. We all hope you'll subscribe and ring the notification button. The notification bell is going to let you be the first on your block to know when the next episode drops. Our topic for today is something that's very hot in the concealed carry area and self-defense area: carry optics on handguns. Now, the red dot sight for handguns has been around for a very long time. I remember back in the 80s competing at Bianchi Cup with basically what we had then. It was the size of a tomato paste can on top of your pistol. And it was great for target shooting, but nobody even considered carrying one around in a holster, let alone concealed. Today, the optics have become more reliable and they've become smaller, and things have changed. I have, Wilson Combat has been on board with the concept for a while. I have one of their Glocks that I really like with a Trijicon RMR on it, put on here at Wilson. They're available now in the hammer-fired guns. This is the SFX9. And in different flavors of striker gun, these being SIG P320. Each with different carry optics. We have a Delta Point from Leupold. We have the Acro from Aimpoint, and the SRO from Trijicon. Pros and cons, there's always two sides to every story. In the old days, this kind of technology was in its infancy. It's not in its infancy anymore, but it's still kind of in its adolescence. You might find a trouble spot here and there in the experience. The reason these things have worked so very well on arms like the AR-15 rifle is on that gun, the optic is locked onto the frame of the weapon, the receiver of the weapon. Here, it's going to be rocketing back and forth on that slide with every shot. And that's a whole lot of pounding for those relatively delicate optics to be putting up with. This is why, because there is the possibility of you losing that red dot, you want to make sure that you've got backup iron sights, as all of these have, and that they are sighted in and ideally co-witnessed. That is, the iron sights will hit to the same place as the dot. Another concern that you have is glass and weather and temperature conditions. Going from cold out into extreme heat can fog lenses, and anybody who's going to carry one of these seriously, make sure you're using a good, proven defogger. The most popular brand among the carry optics cognoscente seems to be cat crap. And it doesn't sound like an appetizing product, but it's not like you're going to eat it. And it does have a good reputation for helping you to deal with that. You want to be checking your batteries, and a whole lot of folks find that they need to, in the course of day, night, and different lighting conditions, dial up or down on the red dot to make sure if they need it, they're going to have the optimal sight picture that they're looking for. I hear people asking, well, gee, putting something exotic like a red dot sight on there, could opposing counsel after a self-defense shooting somehow use that against you? They're going to use everything against you that they can, but I think this is extremely defensible. One tactical advantage to it that also touches in the liability area is, let's say you were my threat and I'd come up with an iron-sighted weapon and hopefully was returning fire into this area. Your gun is down here, and at the first shot, 10 witnesses see you drop the gun, but I can't see that because my pistol has blocked my view of your hands. And now those 10 witnesses see me shoot you 4 more times while you're ostensibly unarmed. That could be a problem. With the red dot sight, the red dot is going to give you that larger field of view that's going to allow you to see better what the person's doing with their hands. So I would see it as an advantage for liability and extremely defensible in that particular arena. From the marksmanship side of it, the big thing is the ability to focus the aiming index on the same plane as the target. It's human nature and instinct to focus on the threat. And even in sport shooting, like shooting falling plates, it's human nature. We want to see if we hit that darn thing. So consciously or subconsciously, our visual focus goes downrange. That takes our primary focus off that tiny front sight that's sitting in that tiny rear notch. And what we see is a bullet that doesn't hit where we needed it to hit. With the red dot, you can focus on the target. The red dot superimposes, and the brain sees it as the two being on the same plane. It does take some habituation. Now, there's an interesting bell curve here. For a new shooter, just putting that red dot on the target and pressing the trigger is kind of like training wheels. You don't have to remind them. Front sight here, notch here, identify target, but then change your visual focus back here to the front sight. It's all just dot on, press trigger. The bad side of the bell curve is particularly for us older shooters who spent, in my case, decades shooting with iron sights, is finding that red dot. Now, if you've ever had a cat struggle to catch the red dot on the laser when you were playing with it, I'm kind of like your family cat. It took me a while to catch that dot. There are a few things you can do to speed that up, and different theories come from different instructors. If you've been using the old-fashioned escalator draw, where the gun comes up about 45-degree angle like an escalator, the sights don't really present themselves to the eye until you're already out at extension. So I'd suggest, particularly with optical sights, the press-out draw, defined by the late Todd Lewis Green. The draw path, picture a capital letter L that tilts over 90 degrees. The short leg of the L is here, the long leg here. As you snap up to here, now early on, the eye is starting to catch the front sight, or in this case, the circle of the carry optic. And as it comes up, you get that red dot on target a whole lot faster. You've got literally from here to here to do it. And it gives you more time to get your index, to achieve your index. Another thing that may work well, and I'm not going to point a gun at the target, so picture I'm holding a pistol. One reason the red dot works better on a long gun than on a handgun is the long gun is not only stabilized at the shoulder, but you can also do your cheek weld. That is, your cheek hitting the stock. You've sighted that gun in and acclimated. When the comb of the stock hits this cheek, that eye and that sighting index are right on to the target. Well, out here, you don't have that. But you can sort of make do. The Ray Chapman, the world's first combat pistol champion, world level, came up with a modification of the Weaver stance that he called modified Weaver, and the rest of us called the Chapman stance. Instead of both arms being bent with a push-pull, the gun arm would lock rigid, and the bent forward arm would pull the whole gun arm into the shoulder like a rifle stock. Depending how you're built, you may be able to use that rifle stock effect by bringing cheek or jaw to the bicep. If that does work for you, and the only way to find out is to try it, you'll find that can work very well for getting you faster on target with that elusive red dot on the carry optics. They're fun to shoot. The carry optics definitely have a learning curve, but the learning curve involves shooting. Shooting involves fun, so it's still all good.